Welcome back to the Center Square Daily. I'm your host, Greg Bishop. Now let's get Illinois in focus, with Illinois State Police having to respond to findings from the Illinois Auditor General's office. And this comes as the Illinois Legislative Audit Commission, a bipartisan group of Illinois state lawmakers, goes through various audits of all the state agencies and their spending. It's not just how much tax dollars they're spending. They also get audited on how they're interacting with state law and whether they're complying with state law. During Tuesday's Legislative Audit Commission hearing, an audit employee explained at least one finding that's got interest of a lot of people in Illinois with firearm owner identification cards.
We found the department did not comply with the requirements of the Firearm Owners Identification Card Act, or FOID. During testing of FOID applications, we noted for all 14 renewal applications tested, the renewal fees were deposited into the wrong fund, the State Police Revocation Enforcement Fund, instead of the State Police Firearm Services Fund. During testing of expiring FOID cards, we noted 2 of 40 cardholders were not notified that their cards were expiring within the mandated 180-day range. Notifications were made 19 days late in these instances. We recommended the department ensure notifications to FOID cardholders are sent in a timely manner and ensure fees are deposited in accordance with the Act.
Now, for those not familiar with Illinois' firearm owner's identification card, Illinois is one of about 4 states that have some kind of requirement for firearms owners to get an identification specifically as a firearm owner from some kind of government jurisdiction. In this case, it happens to be Illinois State Police. And several years ago, way before the pandemic, there were numerous complaints and calls for ending the FOID card system. As people were having their FOID cards renewed, they would have had to have waited. Some instances we had reported at thecentersquare.com up to 12 months for them to get their FOID card renewed after it expired. And you got to imagine during that 12 months, those firearms owners worried they're violating the law by owning firearms and not having an up-to-date firearm owner identification card. Illinois State Police Brendan Kelly was ISP director back then, and he pushed for a whole host of different things, including temporarily sending out letters to various people who were waiting for their FOID cards that they could show to a gun dealer to say, this is from Illinois State Police, I'm okay to buy this firearm. But we talked to gun dealers back then saying that piece of paper is not something they're willing to rely upon, as their license to sell guns could be at stake. Flash forward now here 6+ years, and you've got Illinois State Police Director Brendan Kelly responding to this recent audit report about state police not complying with the FOID law, and he says they are in compliance.
The FOID system has undergone significant modernization, and the FOID backlog has been eliminated. That was a previous special audit of this commission. No, it's not the direct subject here today, but it's a tremendous accomplishment by the people that work in our Firearm Services Bureau. The average processing time now for a new FOID card is 14 days, and that's well below the statutory limitation.
There are about 2.5 million FOID card holders in the state of Illinois, just for reference. Meanwhile, yesterday at the Illinois State House, there was also conversation about school choice and early childhood issues when it comes to the ability to have school choice. We've got the federal program that the Trump administration announced as part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was signed into law July 4th of last year. It included a national school choice scholarship program for young students to be able to tap into a privately funded fund where they could use those dollars to then go to a school of their choice if their school is not up to par, isn't performing, is not giving their students the best quality of education. Well, the question was posed to teachers union officials during a Illinois House committee yesterday, with Republican State Representative Blaine Wilhauer talking about school choice and that federal tax credits for scholarships. Here's a little bit of that interaction.
We've got a lot of kids that are trapped in schools that are failing just because of their zip code, and I'm wondering if you guys support the federal tax credit that would help some of those kids, not even necessarily just get out of there, that would help them get more services.
We do not support and would not support the federal voucher program coming into Illinois. Philosophically, we think public money should be for public schools, and we would urge the legislature to reject opting into that program.
So you don't fully support doing anything that we can do to invest in students? How's that not an investment in students?
We think investing in our public schools and fully funding our public schools before we do anything else is the right process.
Now, Representative Wilhour pushing back against that idea of fully funding schools first before considering having Illinois opt into that federal school scholarship tax credit program that states across the country are opting into to give their students the ability to take advantage of those tax credits, but also for donors with private dollars to put into that fund. Wilhour says this has nothing to do with tax dollars.
This isn't taking any money out of the budget or doing any of that. These are private citizens that are making donations that then can be used to help students in these schools and frankly in public schools as well, that would help combat some of the challenges that you're talking about right now.
I hear you.
It seems to me like you're all about investing in more of the institutional stuff than the actual students, and we're here to look after the actual students first.
Now, Wilhour, again, talking about investing in kids. Interestingly enough, there was a program in Illinois, a very unique program at the time, called the Invest in Kids Act, and that had a school scholarship program where private dollars could be donated and they would get a tax deduction in their Illinois property taxes, or Illinois income taxes rather, to be able to offer up that funding for children across the state to tap into to go to a school of their choice. That program began in 2019 but sunset in 2024 at the behest of unions in Illinois, saying that they didn't like the idea of tax dollars being taken away from public schools. But again, it was private donations to a fund, not tax dollars. And union leadership yesterday saying that it was a good thing that program sunset. Wilhour pushing back.
This legislature had an opportunity to renew the Invest in Kids program and did not, and chose not to.
Which was a major mistake.
We disagree on that as well.
I think 10,000 kids would disagree with you.
Well, yeah, look, I go back to my previous statement.
What is more important to us, the kids or your institution?
We would not be here standing before you today talking about the investments in public education if kids were not important. So I think we just disagree on the federal program.
Now, educators and union members were there talking about the need for increased public funding for public schools, but Wilhour again asking them, have we seen any better outcomes of these schools across Illinois with increased funding? Legislators are going to be crafting a budget for the state of Illinois. They have a May 31st deadline to do so, so we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that as the process plays out with Illinois in focus, only with the Center Square Daily. From my studios in Central Illinois, I'm Greg Bishop. Join us back here Thursday for more stories impacting you, the taxpayer, from across the country, only with the Center Square Daily.